Welcome to today's Explainer. We are breaking down a truly fascinating story today. Now, on the surface, the silent princess and the talkative princess looks like your standard run-of-the-mill fairy tale, but underneath, it is literally a masterclass in leadership, communication, and the hidden rot that can absolutely bring a society to its knees. We're going to dissect exactly how this kingdom's moral decay happens and ultimately how it finds salvation. So let's jump right in. Think about this for a second. What actually happens to a kingdom when its leaders just absolutely refuse to listen? And what if its only hope is a princess who literally cannot speak? It's a crazy paradox, right? But it really forces us to question our own understanding of power. In a world where the loudest voices usually win, what happens when those loud voices are just completely wrong? Moving into Section 1, Two Princesses, One Kingdom. Okay, to understand how this whole place falls apart, we've got to look at the royal sisters at the heart of the story, because they could not be more different. First, you have Princess Teresa. She's talkative, honestly, a bit of a yapper. She's always the center of attention, totally obsessed with appearances. Like, she would literally dominate a conversation with a visiting prince, just talking about whether to wear lilac or lavender. Her voice is her power. But then you have Princess Hannah. Hannah is completely silent. But here's the thing. Because she doesn't speak, she observes. She decodes the language of nature. While her family just kind of pities her, she's out there feeling the vibrations of the trees and the rivers. She's deeply connected to the actual truth of the world around her, precisely because she isn't filling the air with her own noise.
Which brings us to Section 2, the Root Keeper's Warning.
So Hannah's unique ability to just listen is the catalyst for the whole story. Because she's always listening, she starts picking up on these uncomfortable sighs for help coming from the deep woods, voices that her superficial sister completely brushes off. Well, Hannah ventures into that untrodden forest and actually finds this mythical being known as the Root Keeper. And the Root Keeper gives her an ancient riddle. Flames that hide must be seen, sins that cling must be freed. Basically, the Root Keeper tells her the kingdom is hollowing out from the inside, rotting from hidden sins in the palace shadows. This magical mandate is what sets our silent hero's journey in motion. She gets this faint magical lantern on her palm, a tool specifically meant to expose what all those loud voices are desperately trying to hide.
Now, she obviously tries to warn her family first, but shocker, they refuse to listen to the girl who can't speak. So she goes back to the tree and receives 3 magical leaves, a red one, a green one, and a yellow one. These lay out a super clear 3-part mission to save her home. Step 1, confront pride. Step 2, expose greed. And Step 3, overcome fear. Let's break down exactly how she uses these tools to totally dismantle the kingdom's corruption, one sin at a time.
All right, Section 3, uncovering the sin of pride. This takes us right into Hannah's first major trial inside the royal council chambers. And listen, we aren't talking about simple vanity here. In this kingdom, pride means seeking a senseless war and sacrificing lives purely to prove your own supremacy. In the council, Hannah encounters Sir Lancelot. This guy is aggressively pushing to attack an enemy that just literally offered them peace. He claims it's to set an example. But as soon as Hannah's red leaf activates, we see his strategy has absolutely nothing to do with protecting the kingdom. It is just pure, destructive ego.
And this just brilliantly illustrates what happens when you force the truth into the light. Lancelot is standing there advocating for war despite these peace offerings. But when Hannah's magic red leaf shines on him, it acts like a truth serum. Lancelot just involuntarily blurts out his actual motives, saying, "Peace is for losers. This is my one chance to show my supremacy." I mean, wow. The result? Immediate and shocking downfall. Stripped of his fake nobility, the council unanimously votes him down. They suddenly realize his pride was about to lead their people, who are already starving, by the way, into a completely pointless slaughter. Next up, Section 4, revealing the sin of greed. So right in the middle of Lancelot's whole downfall, someone drops the word starving, and Hannah immediately catches this strange, really rich aroma. She follows the smell all the way to an old, closed-off amphitheater, and inside, it's a completely different world. See, greed here isn't just about hoarding gold. It's about feasting in secret while the masses starve. Hannah finds the royal chefs literally stealing rations meant for the struggling public, all just to feed this hidden gathering of gluttonous nobles. It's just a horrifying picture of inequality. Then, the green leaf in Hannah's palm brightens up, and the magic kicks in with some serious dramatic flair. The hidden amphitheater violently collapses, and it teleports those greedy nobles, feast, tables, the whole shebang, directly onto the starving streets. Talk about the ultimate public exposure. They are instantly laid bare in front of the exact same people they've been ignoring and robbing. That whole illusion of their superiority completely shattered by the reality of their greed. This brings us to Section 5, Confronting the Sin of Fear.
Now we hit the final and honestly, the most insidious trial of them all, sitting right next to the queen herself. The crucial takeaway here is that fear isn't just about being scared of the dark. It's about dereliction of duty. Fear is the cowardly silence of the royal council refusing to actually advise the queen just to protect their own ranks. So, the exposed nobles drag the queen out into the streets to see this feast, and she is appalled. She looks at her council and asks how on earth this could happen right under her nose. Enter the yellow leaf. It does its work, and the council members are forced to admit exactly why they let this rot spread. And you have to look at the mechanics of this toxic environment. The queen's volatile, ego-driven temper had completely silenced all dissent. A previous advisor literally lost his rank just for speaking up. So because of that, the current council prioritized keeping their fancy titles over the actual well-being of the kingdom. They have to look the queen in the eye and tell her that her ego prevented her from taking advice. The story frames this perfectly. Refusing to do your duty out of self-preservation, staying silent when you have the power to speak, that is actually a greater sin than the oppression itself. Truth was just totally suffocated by cowardice.
Let's look at Section 6, the domino effect.
So these aren't just isolated incidents, right? Let's look at how they build off one another. Curing one sin organically triggered the exposure of the next. It's a massive domino effect. First, Lancelot admits his warmongering. While exposing his pride, the council mentions the starving masses, which tips Hannah off and leads her to the amphitheater. Second, that hidden amphitheater collapses, exposing the nobles' greed. The public outrage from that event summons the queen, which leads directly to step 3, the council confessing their cowardice and fear to the queen herself. In a single night, the hollow pillars of the palace are totally exposed, going straight to the very top. The rot is finally cleared out. And finally, Section 7, the power of quiet.
With the ugly truth finally out in the open, the royal family and the council gather around the Rootkeeper tree, totally humbled by the night's events. The tree shares this one final lesson. Speak the truth, protect the root. What is silenced must still be heard. And what's really beautiful here is the transformation of Princess Teresa. The notoriously talkative princess finally stops yapping. For the first time ever, in that newfound silence, she actually hears her sister. She finally learns how to listen.
And that brings us right to the core moral takeaway of this whole explainer. True power isn't found just in speaking or just in silence. It's found in the harmonious balance between voice and quiet. The kingdom finally finds a real path forward when Teresa takes the crown, but with Hannah right there acting as her spiritual guide. Teresa brings the action and the voice. Hannah brings the observation, the deep listening, and that vital connection to the truth. Together, they represent the absolute perfect balance required for healthy, effective leadership. So, we'll leave you with this final question to chew on. In a world absolutely overflowing with noise, pride, and greed, are you truly listening to the quiet voices around you? It's so incredibly easy to be like Sir Lancelot or the Cowardly Council or even the early version of Princess Teresa, just filling the air with our own agendas and totally ignoring the subtle signs of decay. But as we've seen today, the ultimate superpower isn't always having the loudest voice in the room. Sometimes it's having the courage to just be quiet, to observe, and to let the truth finally be heard.